Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What are you doing, Jason? I don't understand. Oh, is that a gun toy? Sorry, I was off screen when the intro ended because I was trying to organize my clips here. Organizing clips is a difficult part of the pre-show exercise. I don't have a producer. It's just me, guys. So I mess things up sometimes. Welcome to the least professional show on the internet. I am your host, Mr. Reagan, and this is my co-host, Jason T. Labrada. Follow him on X at Jason T. Labrada. He's sadly, he has no followers. We beg every time.
I'm begging you.
Send us your super chat so that he can afford to feed his child.
Yes.
Oh, I love begging for money. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're early. We're kind of early. I was going to, you know what I'm going to do for you guys because you're early? You've probably all seen it, but I'm going to play it anyway. I'm going to play the very beginning anyway of my new parody video, which is just dropped. Jason, I don't think you've even seen it.
I haven't. This is going to be a first for me as well.
I'm humiliated personally that my good friend Jason T. Labrada has not seen my parody video.
Well, I've been taking a hiatus.
Oh, Shapiro went live, so that's probably why I have no viewers. This guy said. He said, but I would rather be here. I would rather be here too. You know why? Because I don't have the voice of a 14-year-old girl. All right.
Shapiro.
Shapiro. All right, let's have a look at a little bit of this new parody video. Let's have a look here.
When Joe and I opened the border, flooding America with tens of millions of illegal aliens, we thought voters would think we were kind and generous.
Serious?
But it turns out Trump was right. They're not sending their best.
They're not sending their best.
Turns out that they are, in fact, bringing drugs, bringing crime, bringing their rapists, and apparently they're eating the cats.
Eat the cat. Eat the cat.
But
all right, I'm not going to play the rest of it because you're going to have to go watch. But anyway, that's my new
tease. You're such a tease.
I'm such a tease. Yeah. But I'm quite happy with that one. I think it's doing pretty good. It may not be as good as my Gavin Newsom one. The Gavin Newsom one was excellent, I would say.
It was on point.
Do you have any personal news, Jason? Because that's my personal news is the new video that just dropped.
No, not really. I was just saying that I was like on a man, I can't say the word. Help me out here, Chris.
Hiatus.
Wow. I was on a hiatus on social media this week, and I just blacked out of it because I don't know, it was getting annoying. You got to
do that sometimes.
Yeah, man. Like some. It's amazing how so many people on social media think they're so smart. Yeah. But they're so stupid. I mean,
saying incredibly dumb things with like a super high level of confidence,
yes,
has become like the new trend
yes.
in the world.
Yes.
But especially among leftists. Like
yeah.
This was something I noticed with AOC. AOC was the queen of this for so long, and I think she might have influenced a lot of people because Kamala now does this. I think Kamala's always done it as well, but I think that she is to some degree suffered from a little bit of self-awareness. Like she kind of knew she was dumb, and so she was kind of trying to hide it. I don't think AOC realizes she's dumb. I think AOC thinks she's super smart, so she'll come out and she'll be like,
"Yeah,
this is how it is. It's exactly like this," and she'll like say it super confident, but she'll just say the dumbest stuff.
Yeah. Well, most actors and actresses think they're geniuses, you know. So, I mean,
hey, I resent that. I take that personally.
I forgot you are an actor. I forgot about that. Okay, so maybe we are on the wrong side, Chris.
I know. Actually, I forget that I'm an actor sometimes. You watch some video I did a little while ago, which I thought was actually terrible, where I like go back in time to tell myself
I love it.
about
One of my favorite
happen.
videos.
You're like, yep. You're like, Chris, you got to get back into acting, man. You're good. You are good.
Yeah.
I was like, thanks, man. You kind of like made my day that day. That was a good day. Anyway,
I don't know if you should admit that, but yeah, about being an actor, but
I know that's kind of embarrassing. But I remember I was in an acting class once in LA. It was a pretty famous acting class. And this guy goes, Chris, can I see you after class? The acting coach. I'm like, yeah, okay. So he goes, I want to talk about your career and like what you would audition for, what kind of roles you audition for. And he goes, of all the Friends guys, the guys on the show Friends, which one are you? And I go, I don't know. I'm kind of like a sarcastic a-hole. I guess I'm kind of like Chandler. And he goes, no, Chris, no, you're a Joey. Like that, like totally said it like that. It was the weirdest thing.
Really?
I'm like, he's kind of dumb. He's like, no.
I'm not a Friends fan. I never watched an episode, so I couldn't tell you.
I'm not a Friends fan.
I know Joey's a dummy one, right?
Joey's the dummy. I'm like, yeah, thanks. But you know, it was weird. I don't really fit any of those guys. I don't think. It was a weird question. No. It was an inappropriate question.
I wouldn't know. I don't know the show.
This guy, Bremen, 1973 says Chris can play a reboot of American Psycho as Christian Bale's character. You know, when I was living in England,
that's on point. You got it.
Many years ago. This is before I'd ever seen that film. I was living in England, and there was this German girl that was kind of vaguely part of our friend group. Celia, I remember her name. That's kind of weird, Celia. And I'm just hanging out. She was German girl.
Oh. Okay.
Anyway, so this German girl, she goes, Chris, I just realized who you are. And I was like, who am I? And she goes, you look like the man from American Psycho. You are the American Psycho. I didn't know who Christian Bale was. I didn't know anything.
You should have confused her. You should have said, but side note, he was an American.
Yeah, that's funny, actually. Yeah, no, I'd never seen the movie. Christian Bale wasn't really famous at that time. That was like, this was a long time ago. This is probably like 2000.
That was his breakthrough.
1 or something like that. Yeah. That was his big thing. I mean, he had been a child actor, I think. But so I go, isn't that a movie about like a psycho serial killer? She's like, yeah, it is. Like, thanks. Okay.
That's what they think of Americans.
That's my life. I have a lot of like fun. A lot of fun things happen to me in my life, actually. I've been a very lucky person. I've been an incredibly lucky person, I will say. I think about that sometime. All right, let's have a look here. Eric Wade has jumped in with $20. Thank you, Eric Wade. You're very generous. He says, I can't even listen to Kamala's
That's a meal for my son.
We're going to guilt trip you all into giving a super chat. All right. He says, I can't even listen to Kamala's commie baloney blizzards anymore. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to listen to her, you know? HLPL writes, Mr. Reagan gets lucky. Not as often as you might think. I can't even listen to Kevin. Yeah, I mean, all of the left, and we're going to get into this. Did you guys hear? I am blessed. That's true. Stefka Nikolova says, Chris, you are not lucky. You are blessed. That is true. I'm very, very blessed. That's true. But what's this guy's name? John Kerry. Did you guys hear what John Kerry said?
Oh, man.
Holy smokes.
I'm telling you, they're out in the open. They're out in the open.
They're out in the open. All right, we're going to get into it.
It's an interesting thing. Remind me to bring up what General Flynn said about this whole thing.
Okay, yeah, I should do that. All right, well, let's get to the first couple of stories. Don't blame me for how lame these are. Jason picked these ones.
I mean, I don't know. Like the news lately is just kind of lame, actually.
All right, let's have a look here. So this is watch the White House say that ICE data on illegal immigrants' crime is being falsely represented. Okay, yeah. So I threw this one up at the last second because this is a huge story. So ICE has come out and they've released all this data. This is on all the news. So this is not. I think that you didn't put this up originally, Jason, because it's so widely covered. But I think it's something we need to talk about. Basically, ICE has come out and said that the Biden administration and Kamala Harris let in, like, I think it was like hundreds of thousands of murderers, or at least tens of thousands of murderers.
You don't say.
Assaulters, violent criminals into the United States.
Of course.
But we never had like numbers. And I think that actually the numbers are probably low because they just don't know. I think they just don't know of a lot of them.
Well,
so these are just the ones we know of.
I was going to say,
anyway,
I was going to say, like, we were saying it. I mean, we didn't know the exact number, but we were saying that all these countries were releasing their prisoners and murderers and stuff into the United States. So, I mean, come on, you release prisoners and just your criminals from your country. Of course, tens of thousands are going to be coming here.
Yeah. So
and it's on purpose.
So
that's the war. That's those countries. That's a war right there. They did it on purpose. And
it's like an invasion. Yeah. And you don't want, I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but you don't want criminals in your country. You want as few criminals as you can get. And I've often said, go on.
No, I was gonna say, but also another country releasing their prisoners on purpose into your country. That's an act of war. That is like they're trying to sabotage your country.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Okay, so let me go ahead and play this video because this is the White House's response, and it's actually kind of funny. I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't so terrible, but it's absurd. It's absurd, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Okay, let's have
13,000 people who have been convicted of murder crossed the border illegally and are living among us. So how much danger are U.S. communities in right now because of this?
I'm assuming you're talking about the ICE data.
Yes.
So just a couple of things, and I think it's important to correct the record here. First of all, the false representation of the data ICE shared. So that was what we are seeing, false representation. I got to call that out. We got to call that out. And it's been fact checked by some of your colleagues here, by multiple outlets that has been debunked on what has been falsely misrepresented here. So we have to call that out. And so, look,
can you clarify what the misrepresentation is?
The numbers that is being put out about how many people are out has been falsely represented here.
Oh.
If you look at the total returns and removal of the past year, that has been higher than every year under the previous administration since 2010, if you look at it. And if we're going to report something, a data that's out there, we got to do it in a way that is not confusing the American people and certainly not lying. And so this has been fact checked. And so this is the way that is being falsely represented here is just not okay. And
okay, you know what? I'm going to do my impression of
Baghdad Bob strikes again.
Baghdad Bob. I call her Black Lesbian Sideshow Bob. That's what I call her. If you have a look at that hair. No, the way she responds is so transparently deceptive, right? She's very obviously trying to deceive the American people, but she's a bad liar. This is the problem that they have. This was the problem with Jen Psaki as well. They bring these women in because they need this DEI hire crap. But they bring in women who can't lie well. But they need them to lie well because the Biden administration is such a disaster. I should call it the Kamala Harris Biden administration, right? Because that's who's running. But yeah, but it's been fact checked. It's been fact checked. And it's just, the numbers aren't right. Specifically, what's wrong with the numbers? It's just the numbers because people are not the numbers. It's the numbers because they're wrong. Like, what are you talking about? It's your own people. ICE, it's your own administration is putting these numbers out. What are you even talking about? Anyway, MMA Fix wanted to say something to you, Jason, so I'm going to go ahead and put it up here. Said this should get your son a gumball, $2.
No, gumballs here are like $4. Got to do better than that.
My son only eats the giant lollipops. Okay, so thank you, MMA Fix. We appreciate that, man.
Thank you.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, with inflation, $2 is probably right at this point. But yeah, this woman's a joke. Listen, I've often said, I say this all the time. I'm going to say it again, just because I know I'm a broken record, but you got to bring people in that are from a similar culture. That is it. I'm sorry. That is it.
Yes.
At the end of the day, okay, this is going to be a little bit controversial. I don't usually talk about Israel. We talked about this at the beginning of the show. I said, Jason, we don't talk about Israel on this show. I'm going to just a little bit. I'm going to do just a little bit because I'm friends, like where I'm staying right now at the moment, traveling. I meet a lot of Muslims because in Southeast Asia, there's a lot of Muslims. And a lot of these people are very nice people, very chill people, very cool people. And one of these guys is a friend of mine, nice kid, early 20s. And I started talking to him about the war a little bit. It's not my issue. That's why I don't talk about it on the show. It's not my issue. But Half Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company jumps in and said, for the other half of that gumball. Another $2.
Thank you. It's
man.
good to know good to know my son is loved out there.
I appreciate it. So I said to him, I said, what if Israel, this is like what do you call it? Like a thought experiment. I said, what if Israel was to completely stop all aggression against the West Bank and Gaza? There was no settlements. There was nothing. They left them in peace perfectly. And I said, would the Muslims there, would Hamas and the Palestinians stop all antagonism against Israel, or would it last like a week or two, and then they would jump in and they would attack them again, missiles or another October 7th type incident or whatever? And he kind of looked away for a second, and he looked back and he goes, well, the problem is that our holy book, right, the Quran, says that that's our land and we have like an obligation to take it. So yeah, they're always going to attack Israel. And I'm like, well, that's your problem. You can't. So you've got this impossible situation where they're always going to attack. And the thing is, and here's why I bring it up. Because this guy is a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. But he believes that the Palestinians are justified to consistently attack the Israelis, even if the Israelis are doing absolutely nothing to them, right? You can make arguments about the atrocities that Israel has committed and all this kind of thing. You can make those arguments, but that's not the argument that he was presenting to me. The argument that he was presenting to me was that the Palestinians have a justification to attack Israel no matter what, no matter how peaceful they are, no matter how good they are to them. It doesn't matter. They should always be able to attack them. And he didn't just say that's what they believe. He said that's what he believes. And I've asked this to other Muslims around here as well, and they say the same thing. All Muslims around the world seem to think that it's totally justified for Palestine to attack Israel no matter what. And I'm just sitting there, I'm thinking, like, you cannot have people like that in your country. I'm sorry. I love a lot of these people. I think they're very good people, but like, you should never have anyone in your country who thinks trying to kill you is justified. Right? You should never have people in your country who hate you, and or hate your allies, or hate any group of people and want them to be genocided. You can't. It's just a culturally distinct group that's different than you. They don't like. There's certain cultures in the world that just don't share the ethics of the American people, right? And I understand that a lot of Americans don't share the same cultural ethics. I understand that. And that's something we have to deal with. But they're already here. They're Americans. We can't just, kick them out, But we can stop importing people who have distinctly different cultures than us.
We can't. Maybe we can by executive order. I don't know.
We could create a country and give them the option to leave, like Liberia. Yeah. That didn't work out.
I think the best bet is just stopping immigration completely and letting people assimilate that are already here. I mean, just closing it completely. Yeah.
Half Power Concrete, Simplified Crawfish Company says, problem is media in war zones. War's ugly. That's why some of us are built for it. Only some of us are built for it. Well, that's exactly it. In fact, I told him this. I was telling the guy this because he kept saying, like, look at all these children and women that are dying. I'm like, look, this is war, right? If you're
in
a war,
I hate when they
and
say
the problem is 200 years ago or something like that, you wouldn't have seen those pictures all the time. Maybe occasionally you would have seen a picture or two. But at the end of the day, you hear the numbers and it's gruesome, but it's not, you don't have that visceral response. And now with social media, you can see the women and children dead all the time. And that's really hard, you know? And so it's great propaganda though. And that's why they sort of like, and I asked him actually, I was like, do you know about how they like hide missiles and stuff underneath like people's residences or hospitals or whatever? And he's like, and he kind of justified it. Like, well, one of the guys I was talking to a couple guys about this, but one of the guys kind of justified it. And I was just thinking, but you have to split the responsibility there. In fact, I would say most of the responsibility would be on Hamas for putting their own people in danger. To me, that's brutal. You know, you see the women and children dying. Yeah. Okay. I understand that you're mad at Israel, but you got to kind of also be mad at Hamas, you know? But he doesn't want to, because he's Muslim, they're Muslim, you know, so he's got that kind of connection, you know, but, yeah, no, yeah, but you're 100% right, man. It's all about the social media now. Yeah.
But the soft war thing is like ridiculous, man. Like that's a new phenomenon. Like war was never war was always brutal, murderous.
War is
that's
hell.
why I say
hell.
If you could avoid war, that's what you should do.
Avoid
like,
war.
War sucks.
War
man.
is hell. People die. And
I would say if you're gonna go to war, you better go full force. You better like slaughter. Like I'm sorry. Like I mean, if you're gonna go.
That's the Republican idea. That's the sort of like toxically masculine idea. But the reason that we have that perception, or the reason that we have that idea, is because a quick, brutal war is always going to be better than a long, drawn out soft war. Like
exactly.
It's just going to be better for everybody, and you're going to limit your casualties. You're going to limit your suffering.
It's like the whole Hiroshima debate. Like, yeah, we can say that sucked and it was horrible, but I would say hundreds of thousands, if not a million United States soldiers' lives were saved because of that.
That's the theory. I mean, you never really know, because you don't know what the alternate timeline was, but that's the theory. And look, it's an ethical dilemma. And I actually like in not in practice, but in you know, sort of theoretically, I love the ethical dilemma, right? I love thinking through the ethical dilemma. That's why I like writing movies and stuff, because I often write ethical dilemmas in movies and stories. But in real life, ethical dilemmas are tough, man. And that's what being a politician sometimes has to be, which is why you need somebody strong as president and not
exactly like Trump. Like no wars with Trump. No wars with Trump. Like
Trump. You need.
It was beautiful. Like
Trump.
Yeah. That was one of my main. That's one.
Okay, this is a mess. What are you doing?
Go ahead. We were on a roll the last 3 episodes.
It's the timing. The timing's a little off. But no, Trump is strong enough that he can actually make the right choices in those ethical dilemmas. Kamala's too weak. Biden's too gone. Like, they can't make the hard choices. You know what I mean?
But that's what I loved about. That's what I loved about Trump. Like, there was no wars during Trump's presidency, and that's one of the big reasons why I like him. Like, I don't like war, especially as a Christian. I don't like war. I don't want war because it's horrible. You see those babies being murdered and killed, and it's like, it just sucks. It sucks. And
you know,
if we can avoid it, the only way I would say agree to something is like if it's an actual threat, like an actual threat to our country, like it can affect my family or other people's families in this country, then maybe we can think about this. But I mean, war should be avoided at all costs.
Situations. Yeah, I agree. No, but the even the immigration problem with these criminals, like, in order to make that Kamala Harris video that I just made, I had to grab a couple of news clips of, like, you know, violent immigrants, murderers, guys that came in and killed kids, you know, attacked women, these kind of like vicious guys. And just even looking at the brief news clips that I saw, you would not believe how many swear words that I used. Like, I was just like, I want to go in and obliterate these guys. Like, these guys are the absolute most disgusting, filthy scum. You know, Donald Trump called them animals. And then Nancy Pelosi came out and said, do these people not have like the light of God within them or something like that? I'm like, no, these people are soulless effing monsters. They must be, I don't want to say it on the air, but the people who come in, like some of these criminal immigrants who come in, illegal aliens who come in and they attack women in America or like kill children and stuff. whew, I can't even look at that stuff, because as a man, it angers you. You want to do something about it. This is, I think, like the nature of men. This is why I don't like watching that kind of news media or social media, because it just drives you crazy, All right, let's have a look at this. A couple of super chats here. Sonic Blue Strat has jumped in. Thank you, Sonic Blue Strat. $5. He says, how is that any different than Zionists who think God gave them the property to take at any cost? The doublethink on this issue is embarrassing. Well, I suppose the difference is that it's the hypothetical, right? I wasn't talking about the specifics. As I said, I sort of sidestepped
this is
that,
the problem.
Said,
this is where it ends up going.
Exactly, always, every time. And it's like, you can look at the specifics. You say this side is bad, this side is bad. They've both done bad things. But the question I had for these guys, the hypothetical question I had is, if everyone else is peaceful, will you still attack? And they said yes. The situation right now, whether you like it or not, is that the Jews in Israel, they run Israel. They own Israel. They're embedded there. They have their government there. They have their infrastructure there. They have skyscrapers. They have, their civilization is there.
That's where my argument always ends up. Israel has the right to defend themselves, point blank.
Yeah, and they're stronger. They're way, way stronger. Yeah. So even if you boil it down to who's stronger, it's Israel. And so at the end of the day, you're not going to win that. You're not going to win that. So stop. I said to this guy, I was like, look, if you've got a knife and the guy next to you has a gun, maybe don't stab the guy next to you. Like, he will shoot you. Like, don't do that. So I don't know. To me, I'm not Jewish. I'm not Muslim. I'm not from that area of the world. I don't really have a dog in that fight. I don't want to really talk about that on the show. See, this is why I don't want to talk about it, because then this guy comes in and he's got his position and everything.
Yeah.
I'm objective, right? I'm on the sidelines. I'm not really. Yes. I'm just looking at it. I'm trying to save as many lives as I can, right? I'm trying to stop the aggression. I'm trying to save as many Palestinians as I can.
Let me put it this way. If Trump was president, this war wouldn't have happened. Okay.
I agree. I agree. I actually agree with that. And a lot of the guys I've been talking to this week, I don't know why this has become a topic of conversation, because I don't like this topic, but people want to talk to me about it. I don't know. They don't believe that Trump had anything to do with like the Abraham Accords. They don't want to, because they don't like Trump, right? So they're just like, no, that wasn't him. That was just, everybody wanted it, and they just used Trump to try to get it signed and everything.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, you're right. Trump has never negotiated anything well in his entire life. You're totally right. Whatever. Anyway, Hell Radio Lives jumps in. He says, see Birmingham, UK for outcome of mass migration.
Yep.
$2. Thank you so much, Hell Radio Lives. Not only, you are right about Birmingham, by the way. There's a lot of places in the UK with this problem.
Yep.
And a lot of places throughout Europe. And there's different times you see this kind of crop up and there's major problems. You had the whole grooming gang situation in the UK. You have the whole churches thing where like Muslim immigrants throughout France in particular, but all through Europe, will just desecrate Christian churches just because they're Christian. And they just, it's such a problem, this cultural thing. You need to bring in people from similar cultures. You need to put at the very top of the list Christian countries with a similar history to, the people that are in America, right? So European countries, people with the similar ethics, similar laws, similar history. But they're like, no, because they're white. We can't we can't prioritize white people. That would be racist. No, it wouldn't. It's called being culturalist, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being bigoted about culture. I'm okay with it, actually.
Somebody wrote, you won't be objective for much longer when Islam will impose Sharia law in the U.S. We're always saying that. So, I mean, what you said there is pointless, because we're always saying that. Chris just said it right now. Like, you want people that have your same belief system, your same.
I say it all the time. Yeah, it's a major point of mine. When I say bigoted about culture, it's a kind of a joke. Obviously, I just mean what's the word I'm trying to come up with here, man? I'm talking about being discriminate. Being discriminate. It's funny because the word discriminate or discriminate has a positive meaning and a negative meaning, right? Uh-huh. The positive meaning is you have good taste, right? you discriminate between crappy stuff and good stuff. You have discriminating tastes, and then it also means you're an evil bigot because you discriminate against people.
Yeah,
but if
actually people discriminate every day, all day. So
of course, everyone has discriminating tastes in some way or another. Sometimes it's like, but in terms of culture,
like Chris,
he
doesn't. He just likes Russian women. He doesn't like anything else, so he discriminates.
Don't say that. You're gonna get a lot of Americans pissed off at me for that. All right, let's go ahead and throw in another story here. Now that we've now that we've broken my rule about the war in Israel.
Yeah,
all right, let's have a look here. Okay, so this is another problem. This is basically why I played that thing about Karine Jean-Pierre. It's also that there's been 155,000 migrant driver arrests as auto insurance spikes. And actually, the first accident that I ever got when I was, I think I was 16, I had just got a car, and this guy plowed into me and completely sort of like rearranged the car. I mean, the car was just broken after that. It was total.
Yeah.
It was an illegal immigrant speeding. And I didn't see him because he was behind some other cars, and I kind of crept out into the other lane to peek out, and this guy just wham, just smacked my car completely, like moved me 90 degrees. But yeah, he was just like, and he didn't have a license, totally speeding. And then of course he just sort of disappeared. Right. So of course I had to pay everything for the car and everything like that. But yeah, it was a huge problem for me. And I think it's just a huge problem for lots of people because these people are not accountable.
Yeah. And also, not only that, like also one of the other things I got out of that article was how the Democrats continually say that that immigration is not costing us. Well,
right.
Here you can clearly see it is costing us money. So
there's actually another story now that you mention this. Let me try to find it real quick. This is the Tim Waltz one. You remember this? Yeah. Here, let me grab this. I'll put this over here. So there's a story that and this is this idea they used to have in the UK. I think they used to have this saying, "Diversity is our strength." They used to say, "Diversity is our strength."
Yeah.
Well, no, it isn't. I mean, maybe it is in some cases, but sometimes it's a shortcoming. Sometimes it's just neutral. It just depends on the people that you've got there, right? Hoff Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company says, "I don't discriminate. I hate everyone equally." I used to say this. I used to make that same joke when I was like in college, I think. But let me throw this up here because I think this is kind of telling.
Yeah, my car insurance has gone up way high too because of that.
Is this the one? No, that's not it. What did I do with it? Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second here. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. So this is how Tim Waltz thinks about the diversity is our strength thing.
We have more refugees per capita than any other state. That's not just morally a good thing. It's our economic and cultural future. This beautiful diversity we see out in Worthington when I'm there, you see 50 languages spoken in the school. We have more.
50. That's what you want.
That
you want
face.
50 languages spoken in the school. Yeah.
That face. There's something you want to do to that face. I just can't say, so.
It's not a good face. It's not a good face. That's for sure.
I was put into Twitter X jail for a little bit for speaking my freedom of speech.
Something nasty. You posted something that was totally innocuous. Actually, that was really weird.
Tar and feathered. How is that? That's like been saying.
Yeah, you said somebody should be tarred and feathered.
Yeah, that's been.
And they're like, that's violent hate speech or something. Yeah. Elon, buddy, come on, what are we doing here? But yeah, like this is Tim Waltz's response to unmitigated mass immigration, mass illegal aliens crossing into our country. Isn't it beautiful? We have 50 languages in school. No, you want one language.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, moron. How are you going to teach anybody if you got 50 languages? It doesn't make any sense. Clearly, this guy never read about the Tower of Babel because the 50 languages thing didn't work out so well. But anyway, let's go ahead and play the next story because this disgusts me, because they're not talking about just like traffic tickets for speeding or something. They're talking about DUIs. They're talking about like reckless driving. They're talking about people who don't know what they're doing.
Yep.
And if you've ever driven a car in a third world country, like I ride a motorcycle in a third world country, and unless you know how to navigate, you will die. Like it's crazy out here. And when you get drivers from third world countries driving in America, they're not used to following the traffic laws. Let me just say that.
And let me just add,
different world.
Guys, ask yourself, how are they getting these cars?
You think that they're not buying them? Is that what you're saying?
I think the government gives them so much money that they're able to buy cars with that money.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, they are giving them a lot of money. That's the other sickening thing. Like this administration just, I don't know, they love illegal aliens more than they love Americans.
Yep.
Hoffpower jumps in again. He says, we have great DEI at Hoffpower Concrete. Black, white, Mexican, Guatemalan, etc. If you can make it in the heat, we will take you. Well, that's kind of the thing, right? Like, it's not really about who hating anybody. And that's the problem. I don't think we're the same. My father's company is the same. You got to hire people based on how good they are. Individually. You don't hire them based on race. You don't hire them based on who you like. Well, sometimes, I mean, if they're a real dick, you don't want to bring them in. But you hire them based on who's a good hard worker. And I don't think we're a racist country. I'm not going to say I don't think. We are not a racist country. At least white Americans are not. And that's the only argument that they have. That's been their argument for years. It's not a real argument because you get real people in real normal jobs. You don't find the racism that they pretend exists in America.
White America is doing racism really bad. I'll tell you that.
I know we are the crappiest racists in the history of the world. Yeah,
you white Americans need to go to Africa and really learn racism.
It would probably be better if we were a little bit more racist, actually, in America. That'll
like
come
that
back
video,
on me.
like that. What the comedian was saying, that female comedian.
Yeah, she was great. We played that last week, right? She's like, yeah, my grandpa, man, he would say the most racist things. He died, and but before he died, I never said anything. And I got to say, I really miss him. So good. That's such a good line. All right, let me, she goes, I think we could use some more racist grandpas in the world. That's pretty funny. That girl, I mean, if she's got other jokes like that, she's got a future, my friend. All right, let's see what the next story is. Anti-mass migration freedom party of Austria wins historic vote in parliamentary elections. I love this because
I was gonna say, no,
yeah.
I'm just looking at his the super chat, and I'm like, thank you for making that clear because I was kind of getting angry.
Hoffpower Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company says all American citizens, by the way. Yeah. I actually kind of assumed that. I shouldn't.
That's what I was saying. I was like, I'm gonna keep quiet because I'm assuming that, but let's hope so.
That's probably a lie, but we'll pretend it's true. All right, let's see here. Concrete company, really? Come on.
All
right.
Yeah, true. It's like roofing company, really? They're all legal.
All right, so Austria wins historic vote in parliamentary election. Now, this is funny because you want to see it, but also Austria?
Yeah. Are you saying dangerous territory?
I love dangerous territory. No, but you know what? Austria, what is up with these ads? Come on. Honestly,
I always tell my wife, like white people white Europeans, they can be so peaceful, loving, and accepting. But then when they blow up, millions end up dead.
Watch out. Watch the F out. Yeah, we're not going to be playing if we get a nasty idea in my head. Well, at the end of the day, so somebody was saying something like, do you think there will be another January 6th if Kamala wins? And I'm like, no, because January 6th was no. They didn't say if Kamala wins. They said if the election is stolen. And I'm like, no, if the election is openly stolen, I predict, I'm not advocating, by the way, YouTube, but I suspect there could be a real January 6th. You know what I mean? Like
what
they
scares me.
pretend January 6th was.
Yeah.
If conservatives, if actual Republicans, like the hardcore people, many of whom are in the military, by the way, or former military, if they wanted to conduct an actual January 6th, you guys would see some shit.
Yeah.
Okay, this would not be, the guy with the buffalo hat, and the spear flag going do-de-do-de-do-de-do. That's going to be something like you've never seen before. I don't think the world is ready to see what could potentially happen if the election is openly stolen.
Yeah, it's very, very. That's what scares me. That's the thing that scares me.
Me too. Yes, I'm a little worried about that. But that kind of thing, a lot of people would argue would be necessary if the entire system was just completely fraudulent.
And that's the other problem with that. Something like that happening. Like I have a kid. Like if something like that happens, which I'm not condoning, I'm not saying I want it to happen. I don't.
Yes, we are not condoning.
If something like that happens, like you have to choose your sides and you have to say, what are we going to do about this? But that's the thing that's scary. Like I have a new kid and I don't want something like that to happen. I don't want to be in a conflict like that.
You know what annoys me is that we have to be so damn careful about how we talk about this stuff.
It does annoy me.
This is an important thing to actually talk about and discuss.
Yeah.
Like in real life, like you have to discuss these things, theoretically, so that if a moment occurs or if people want to do something like that, you can dissuade them or you can discuss like if it's necessary or whatever. And you can't get to those conclusions unless you talk it through on a show like ours. But we're not really allowed to do stuff like that because we got this chilling effect of.
Guy, you really need to see the past shows because
Jason, let me finish my sentence before you comment on some random guy in the chat. I don't even know what he's saying. Let me finish what I'm saying, for crying out loud. God,
it's been too long since I cut you off and not let you talk. Yeah. I'm like, this episode, before this episode, I was like, I need to annoy Chris in this episode. It's been a while. We're getting too good at this.
All right, Hoff Powers jumped in with $20, so he must have something very important to say. Let's have a look. He says, 100% all citizens, I won't hire them if they're not all of my guys, if they are not all of my guys own. Oh, okay, sorry. There's a period that you forgot in there. All right, let me try this again. 100% all citizens, I won't hire them if they are not. All of my guys own homes and have families. All of them are first generation, but most of their kids were born here also. 100% taxpaying Americans, period. Okay, we believe you. That was an aggressive response.
Who are they voting for?
Yeah, you got to talk to those guys.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I respect that. I love that. I think that's great. But you do need to start learning using periods. No, but I respect that, man. I think that's awesome. That's great. We love Hoff Power here on the Toxic Masculinity show.
Yes, we do.
One of our all-time favorites. All right, let's get on to the next story. Minneapolis swears in first non-U.S. citizen as a police officer. This is not the person. It is a black woman. It is a woman of color. Of course it is.
Yeah,
of course it is.
The picture is low. As you go down, they have it.
Yeah. Okay, let's go.
I thought they did. What happened?
Maybe not.
They did. Wow.
I don't know. I can't see her. But anyway, point is they hired this woman, this black woman. She's from Somalia or something like that.
Yep, Somalia. Yep.
And the problem, okay, so I don't even really need to read the article. I just want to discuss this a little bit. Like, the problem isn't, okay, here's the question for you, Jason. What is worse? The fact they hired an illegal immigrant to be a police officer who was, I think, brought here when she was like a child. So she's essentially like Americanized, although she does live, I believe, in the Somali community in Minneapolis, which makes her essentially foreign. Or the fact that she's a woman. What's worse? The illegal immigrant thing?
The fact that she's a woman.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The toxic masculinity is going to come out now, but women should not be police officers.
No, I mean, I've discussed this on the show before. I think it's absurd. Okay. If they're behind a desk, pencil pusher, okay, fine, whatever. But why are you putting women in positions where they have to be of controlled violence? Why would
I gotta
you
look
do that?
Yeah, and I gotta look for the picture of this girl because this girl does not look like she can handle herself in a serious situation.
I did see a video on X a little while ago where there was a woman just kicking this guy's butt. I think she was a security guard or a police officer in Europe or something. And I thought, okay, she is an exception. She can be a police officer. But at the end of the day, the vast majority of women cannot do that job, especially the ones they hire. You ever see these videos where they're trying to arrest some guy, like young black guy, and he like escapes the cuffs and he runs off, and these fat women are like, wait, no, stop. But
no,
like,
and you could hear their breathing like, like no,
do, and then the ground shakes every time they step. I mean, it's kind of a joke.
No, but I would
really
say
a problem.
Any woman, even if you get like a what's the toughest woman out there right now in MMA or something like that, even a woman like that would not be able to handle herself against a normal dude that's probably her same weight, probably even less her weight. It's
well, I think Serena Williams at one point was asked if she would engage in a tennis match against, like, I think it was Andy Murray or something like that. And she just goes, nah, it's never going to happen.
Exactly.
And this was like a talk show or something, like one of these late night talk shows. And they go, well, why not? And she goes, look, men and women are different. Okay. Do you know how fast these guys serve? It's like, he would destroy me. Okay. It was never going to happen. It's a stupid idea. It's just dumb. He's going to win. We all know what's going to happen. Like, what's the point? And like, she wasn't just the best in the world. She was the best in the world by like a long shot. Like, she's like superhuman woman. I assume she was on steroids and stuff, but she was better than any woman by like a million for a long time. And that was like at the height of her success when they were trying to get her to do this. And she's like, no, even somebody who's not a guy who's not the best in the world. I mean, Andy Murray was definitely good. He was a great player. He was one of the best for sure. So, but she's like, he'd kill me. He would just obliterate me. Like, there's no point in even playing. And I respected that, actually. That's the thing that I respect the most she ever said, was that she admitted to that. Like, she didn't try to hide it. She wasn't.
No, that was like the smartest thing she ever said. Like, and I don't think she's said much smart things. So
smart things.
But that was like, I was shocked when she said, I was like, oh wow.
Yeah.
That it takes a person to be humble to say something like that. So I'll give her that.
Yeah, that was impressive. Yeah. I mean, she's the kind of person I think I would probably get along with if I had to work in the same office as her or something, hypothetically. I think we'd get along okay. Sonic Blue Strat jumps in. He says, I disagree. I will never watch you again. Just kidding. Love you guys. The ME issue is a mess with no good answers. America first. Yeah, the Middle East issue.
Exactly.
It is. That's exactly my point. To me, it's all hypothetical in terms of like because I can step away from it because I don't have an emotional connection to that war. So I do, I want to try to figure out how to save as many lives as I can, try to like create as much peace as I can. That's kind of how I think of it.
My view is if there was no oil over there, they'd be still living in huts, man. We wouldn't even give a crap,
Do not underestimate the Jews, my friend. I don't think oil would stop them. I don't think the lack of oil
that's the exception, but I don't think there's oil in Israel. So,
well, exactly. Yeah, that's the point. Half Power Concrete. You're talking about the rest of the Middle East, of course.
Yeah.
Half Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company jumps in again. $5 says they are all voting for Trump. They make me so proud.
Well, of course they're going to tell you that. I hate to be the Debbie Downer, but remember they don't want to lose their job.
Enough of your
they don't want to lose their job.
Nonsense. You can tell though. So my dad's company, like I'll go back there sometimes, and my brother now essentially runs the company. We talk about it a lot, and there are guys who are Democrats who will vote for Kamala Harris, and he will debate them. He'll go in and be like, "What are you doing?" And you just kind of have to deal with it, especially if it's like an old timer, like somebody who's been there for a long time.
Hoffport needs to see their voter registration and everything.
Jason, oh my God. All right. Let's see. Hot Power jumped in again with another $10. He says, my neighbor is a cop and she is literally home more than at work. because she's constantly injured.
Wow.
She can't walk from her front door to her cop car without breathing hard. Oh my gosh, bro. I don't even want to read that. That's so sad. Like, I'm so depressed just reading that, you know? Oh my God, that is so funny. Okay, thanks for that, man. Thanks for that. The assassin of the gray wrote, no one say nothing about the last Minnesota Somali cop who shot the tall blonde woman who called him for help, and Pravda Amerikansky covered it up. He got off with a poor persecuted refugee defense. Holy crap. I never saw that. I never saw anything about that.
Of course, obviously.
I will
never
look
heard
that
about
up,
that.
actually.
Yeah.
I will look up that story. That's horrible, man. Are you in Minnesota? Is that where you have to write that? But what the heck? Oh, that's brutal, man. Yeah, I don't know. Minnesota is like gotten just like down the toilet. You know, that whole state is just, I mean, I assume that it's mainly Minneapolis, but man, it's really sad, you know, because my family, when the German part of my family, when they came to America, they originally were settled in Minneapolis area, and then they moved to the West Coast, Washington State, and then Oregon. But we were in Minneapolis, and so, like, you know, I read about the history of our family and everything, and it seemed like such a nice place back then, and you know, they were kind of building a life for themselves, and I read letters from the family and everything. Is quite cool. And now they've just destroyed that part of the country, you know. It bugs me. All right, let's go on to the next story. All right. Oh, this is great. This is great. This is one of my favorite all-time things that I've ever seen in my life. Leftists are losing their minds over this, but no lies detected. Let's listen to what Donald Trump has to say. This is how I named this video, actually.
Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way. She was born that way.
She's on the right.
Maybe
she was born that way. Anyway,
I love this Trump. I love it. This is the Trump
interrupt
that I know
my
and love.
Yeah, no, look, you guys. This is, we've been talking about this before. Like, we wanted him to say something like that in the debate. That would have been perfect. But, you know, he's trying to maintain his composure. He's trying to seem more presidential. He's trying to, look, you know, he's trying to get those numbers up to an area where they can't, you know, that we can beat the cheat, that they can't cheat. But what a good line. What a good line. And what's amazing about this is that a lot of leftists on X, they're not taking it as the sort of like typical kind of like political statement, a joke, you know, a bit of fun. They are taking this very seriously.
Yep.
They're like, how can you vote for this dangerous man with this kind of rhetoric? They're just so angry. They keep posting all these things like,
it hit the nerve, man. It hit the nerve.
Oh my gosh, they're losing their minds.
And that's when Trump is at his best, when he just lets loose and he just goes with his instinct, you know? Like, man.
I think, yeah, if the left goes crazy for something you did, like my, you know, my parody video, you know you've done something good because because it's not just that it bothers them because you said something nasty or you said something that, because in politics you always say something nasty, you always say something against your opponent, of course. I mean, think of all the nasty things they said about Trump.
But what do we say all the time? We say, let the Democrats talk, let them talk, say all you want, because it just makes them look bad when they talk.
Right.
Yeah. So, but for us, it's like they don't want us to talk.
But they say the nastiest things about Trump every single day. All day long, they say the most brutal, nasty things. We don't typically say things like, you know, our politicians anyway, and our media don't come out and simply say, you know, Kamala Harris is mentally impaired. We don't normally say something like that. With Joe Biden, there was a good reason to say that because he had I think there's obviously some kind of degeneration, some kind of aging related problems. But with Kamala, you know, so it's getting to the point where it's impossible to ignore that maybe there is something wrong. I posted a tweet the other day that went almost viral. I think I talked about it last time. I said, because she had said something completely insane in this interview. So I wrote, is she drunk on drugs or just this stupid? And a drunk high or stupid is what I wrote. And that kind of went a little bit viral that kind of blew up because people were like, yes, drunk high or stupid. They wanted to respond and they wanted to like that and everything. And it wasn't my video. Somebody else had posted. I just reposted it with that caption. But somebody had written something that a lot of people disagreed with, but I thought it was an interesting theory. They said that it had come out from her staff that she was always nervous before speaking engagements. So she always took a Xanax. And some people were like, I think if you take too many Xanax or you take Xanax with alcohol or something, you kind of do get that kind of woo, thing going, and you can't speak properly. And
she's on the Xanny.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never taken a Xanax before in my life. I'm not a middle-aged woman, so I don't know what that's like. But yeah, but some people came out and they're like, I take Xanax and it's fine. What are you talking about? So some people disagreed with that. But I don't know. Like, that's not my area of expertise. I'm not, so I don't know. But it sounded like a reasonable explanation to me.
Chris, yeah. Daisy says that feminine voice came a little too easy.
Yeah, because I know I always get that comment every time I do it. I practiced that. I had this character I used to do called Mr. Pagan, and some people get mad at me because I never do Mr. Pagan anymore. But Mr. Pagan was Mr. Reagan's evil twin.
That's what I was gonna say. I was saying it's not a feminine voice. It's Mr. Pagan coming out.
It's Mr. Pagan's voice. Well, what I used to do even before that, and I still do this to some degree, is anytime I do a leftist, whether it's Nancy Pelosi or AOC or Joe Biden or anything, I always make them talk like this. Because I just think that's funny, And so I turned that into Mr. Pagan. And so, yeah, I got a lot of practice.
You're neglecting Mr. Pagan. You are.
I know. He takes the side of the leftist.
Do you have merch? Do you have Mr. Pagan merch? You got to make some merch.
I kind of gave up on the Mr. Pagan thing because I did my own sort of like Mr. Pagan channel, and I tried to do a couple other channels, but they never really blew up. They never really took off. So I just keep everything on Mr. Reagan, which is probably a mistake because they're going to cancel me eventually. There.
G.I. Jose says real men do a great gay.
Maybe I'll put that on a t-shirt. All right, let's move on to the next story.
That's a good one. That's good to put on a t-shirt.
And do a great gay impression.
Maybe somebody had to have done that.
Biden Harris. Okay, so now this is a response. I wrote, Biden Harris couldn't care more about poor white Americans. This is a tweet that I posted. Now, the reason I posted this is because of the flooding that's going on, because of the hurricane, right? But this is what I'm responding to. So check this out. This is nuts. Look at that. I mean, you just look at the damage, you look at the flooding. I mean, it's pretty intense, right? And the thing is, you remember years ago, Kanye West, there was like some flood relief for Katrina or something.
Yeah.
And Kanye West, and it was Kanye West, and and he goes, George Bush hates black people or something like that. And it was who was there? It was Austin Powers. What's his name? Mike Myers.
Oh,
Mike Myers was there presenting with him, and Mike Myers was like, and he just like kept reading the teleprompter like nothing happened. He didn't know how to deal with it. It was great.
Poor guy.
But I genuinely, it's funny. It's like I don't think that was actually true that George Bush doesn't care about black people. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I never thought too much about it. But I think that's typically just like a stupid assumption to make about anybody in America. But I genuinely
specifically Republicans.
I don't think that the Biden administration, is George Bush a Republican or deep state? I think that's I think he's more probably a rhino deep state guy. But
I'm talking about like dummies like on that side that like voters.
Yeah, that just assume if you're a Republican, you must be a racist. Yeah. But I genuinely don't think that Kamala Harris or Joe Biden really care about poor white people. I just don't think they care. I think they see this and they go, I guess we got to put some money into it. But do we really care? If it was a bunch of black people that were flooded, they would have gone mental. They would be doing these like big speeches. They would be going down there. They would have these big events. They'd be trying to raise money. They'd be sending in the helicopters. But no, they don't care. And Sean Davis said it. And I just basically was repeating what he said. He goes, why is this not all over the news? Sean Davis of the Federalist, he says, because Biden, Harris, and the corrupt media hate rural Americans.
Yes.
And then I wrote, and they could not care less about poor white Americans, because rural Americans, that's what he really meant. That's what Sean Davis really meant. And I wanted to clarify, because people don't, the race thing is such a big problem to me because of what how the left divides us.
I'm going to add,
the race thing shouldn't be an issue. Yeah.
I'm going to add another thing. It's a bad look for their administration. So also that.
I don't know. I mean, not among their voters. Their voters won't.
But you know how any disaster happened during Republican presidencies, they always blame them for it. Like, why was it so bad? So same here.
Yeah, but you know
the media would always attack.
You know what the left and the media are going to do, though? They're going to be like, this is all because of climate change. Anything that happens bad in the world is because of climate change. They're all going to believe that. That's just their go-to. You know what you need to do? We need to raise taxes, send us more money because of climate change.
Yeah.
They're obsessed. They're obsessed with that. All right, let's jump in here with this one. How can anyone not love Trump? I just love this post. It was retweeted by Libs of TikTok. This is from his Truth Social. But Trump writes, to all the sexual assaulters, drug dealers, human traffickers, and murderers, welcome to America. It is important that you send a thank you note to Lion Kamala Harris, because without her, you would not be here. We do not want you, and we're going to get you out.
Say that on the debate.
How can you not love Trump? I mean, what a statement. I mean, beautiful, just beautiful. And I don't know, you want to see some comments? He's like, this is like a Babylon Bee skit. He goes, Zare Bear writes, I don't know, his posts are epic. This person does a little AI thing. Oh yeah, and then we got a leftist here. Quite a few of them came in during Trump's presidency. Yeah, look, you're always going to have, I don't think it's quite a few. This is what the left is trying to say now. And look, at the end of the day, you are going to get a few illegal immigrants coming in no matter who's president. Some of them might be criminals, whatever. That's not the point. You know that's not the point. The point is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris opened the doors. They opened the border. They let them in intentionally. Donald Trump tried to keep them out. Donald Trump effectively did keep them out. If a couple of slipped through, okay, but at least you've done everything you can to keep them out.
And he made Mexico keep them out as well.
Yeah, and exactly. He absolutely did that. And Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, they invited them in. They invited the wolf into the hen house, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's go ahead and grab the next story.
And you see the effect it's having, and it's the effect they wanted.
It's crazy because you would think that they would know that this would be damaging to them politically. I know that they get this idea that like over the next 20 years, they're going to win every election because they're bringing these illegal immigrants in. But at least in the short term, you got to imagine that they knew that this was going to be disastrous because people want to see what was going on. But they are good at spinning stuff. I think that's what the Democrats always think. They think no matter what crappy thing we do to the American people, we can always spin it in a way that's going to trick them into thinking we did the right thing. Because they're very arrogant about that. And to be honest, they have a good right to be arrogant because their voters are unbelievably gullible and they're actually very good at spinning stuff. They really are. All right. Now, this to me is one of the most horrifying things I've seen in a long time. This is former presidential candidate John Kerry essentially saying we need to end the First Amendment. This is
so tough.
Horrifically vile. I've just not seen many things they're just openly advocating eradicating the First Amendment at this point. All right, let's check this out.
So tough. Everybody's wrestling with that right now. And I think the dislike of and anguish over social media is just growing and growing and growing. And it's part of our problem, particularly in democracies, in terms of building consensus around any issue. It's really hard to govern today. You can't, the referees we used to have to determine what's a fact and what isn't a fact are kind of, been eviscerated to a certain degree. And people go and people self-select where they go for their news or for their information. And then you just get into a vicious cycle. So it's really, really hard, much harder to build consensus today than at any time in the 45, 50 years I've been involved in this. And there's a lot of discussion now about how you curb those entities in order to guarantee that you're going to have, some accountability on facts, et cetera. But look, if people go to only one source and the source they go to is sick and, has an agenda and they're putting out disinformation, our First Amendment stands as a major block to the ability to be able to just, hammer it out of existence. So what we need is to win the ground, win the right to govern by hopefully having, winning enough votes that you're free to be able to implement change. Now, obviously, there are some people in our country who are prepared to implement change in other ways. And that's really so tough.
How
Folks,
disgusting is that?
they are telling you they're out in the open now. You can see it clearly. There's no denying it. Mike Flynn General Flynn said a good thing. I don't know if you want to comment on this before I go.
No, I want to hear what you have to say.
So Mike Flynn said an interesting thing. He said where America is in a 3-arc it's like storyline now. Like, so the first one was the revolution, the second one was the Civil War, and the third one is now what's happening now. And I'm like,
fall.
Yeah, I'm like, wow. And it's you can see the third one. He was saying that the third one is this deep state, this globalism. They're just all out now. They're attacking and they're gonna fight like there's no tomorrow. Because what happened with Trump?
The script is at least a 5-act script and not a 3-act script.
Well, he was saying that like after Obama was supposed to be Hillary, and Trump just disrupted. All that. And so now they're just on the attack. Right. Now it's just now they're just So we're like in a pivotal moment right now in American history. I think this is one of the most important times in our history since the Civil War. So
yeah, I'm going to get to that. It's the last story. Very similar sentiment. Hot Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company says about John Kerry. He says, "Dude looks like a melting cartoon."
No. Notice how these people just start looking more evil and more weird and more nasty as they get older.
Well, guys, okay, forget about that. The guy openly advocated for removing the First Amendment to the Constitution. This guy is a former presidential candidate. How the hell is this guy in government? I mean, you can't get more deep state, disgusting, disingenuous, lying piece of crap than this. This guy should not have any power. He should not be anywhere near power. He wants to remove the First Amendment of the Constitution so that he can control what information people get, because he wants to be the arbiter of truth. What a piece of human trash.
It's incredible. Like it's incredible what he says there. If you listen to what he says, he's basically saying he doesn't want you to have a free think. Like, he doesn't want you to have free thought, free thinking.
Access to various ideas, access to information.
And this is what I was saying the other day. Like, this is what I was saying the other day. Like, the conservatives now control the alternative media. They're like the social media and all that stuff. They're the ones becoming the mainstream now. Because nobody wants to listen to the legacy media. So this is what they're scared of. And he just said it to you. He just said that they used to control all the media and everything. Like, he said it to you.
He's like, we used to be able to control it. We can't control it anymore. So now we need to get rid of the First Amendment. What a disgusting person.
So you dummy Democrats, if you don't listen to that and wake up, I'm sorry. You're
Well, the crazy thing, we used to talk about this all the time. We used to say this is what they really want. Whenever we say this is what they really want, they always go, "No, it isn't. We don't want to take your guns. We don't want to remove. We don't want to censor you. We don't want to remove your speech." Then eventually they will admit it. Eventually they'll admit it. It takes a while, but eventually they admit it. They slip up, they admit it, and then you got to save this clip for posterity, because they will try to erase this from the internet, probably.
And where is he saying it? In the World Economic Forum, where all the Democrats are saying, "Oh, that's conspiracy theory crap. That's conspiracy." No, look, something's up there.
All right, you guys want to watch some cringe? Should we get some cringe on? Let's check this out. This is pretty funny.
Oh.
Okay, I can tell you.
Okay.
She asks Kamala Harris how to be a good public speaker. Of all the people in the world, and everybody's convinced that this was staged because the girl seems so phony. She seems like an actress, but let's go.
Oh no, it's white girls, white liberal girls. So no, future cat ladies.
Oh, listen to how she asked the question. It sounds totally staged.
A public speaker. Like,
Okay, I can tell you.
Okay.
So when you're standing up to speak, remember that it's not about you.
Okay.
Okay, think of it like, have you learned about the Titanic?
Yeah. But I've never actually watched it. I really want to watch it.
Let me tell you where this is going. So if you were on the Titanic, right, and you're on the Titanic, and you know the ship is about to sink.
Yeah.
And you're the only one who knows. Are you going to worry about how you look and how you sound?
No.
No, because the thing that's most important is that everyone knows what you know, because they need to know what you know. You see what I'm saying? So when you give your
They don't know what you're saying.
you know something that you have to share with people that they need to know.
Public speaker.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make fun of
Kamala knows she's gonna bring the ship to a wreck.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not trying to make fun of this little girl. I'm trying to make fun of the fact that I think that is staged, right? I think it's phony. I think that this girl was put up to this question and told to sound enthusiastic, and she's just not that good of an actress. So it's kind of like fake enthusiasm. But Kamala's answer here is actually very telling, because you know how what we said at the top of the show, how people is become trendy, and a lot of people in, especially Democrats in politics, have now started to do this thing where they will say the dumbest stuff you've ever heard in your life, but with the utmost confidence, right? They will express it with the utmost confidence. Kamala is literally admitting to exactly my theory right here. She's saying, just imagine you're on the Titanic. You've got to tell everybody that the ship is sinking. So you've got to convey this important information to everybody, right? She's creating an imagine. You don't have to imagine if you've actually got important information to express to people. Like on my show, I never have to imagine, oh, I gotta pretend that I'm saying something important so that when I say it, it sounds important and people listen to me. No, I know what I'm saying is important because I've done the research and I've looked into this stuff, and I know what I'm saying is information that people need to hear. So when I convey the, whatever it is, the value of what I'm talking about, that is an authentic expression of, I guess, urgency, right? I genuinely believe that what I'm saying is important. I don't have to pretend I'm on the Titanic. I don't have to imagine that what I'm saying is important. It is important. It has value. It is critical. It is urgent. Whatever it is, what I'm going to say. I'm not going to make a video otherwise. And unless it's funny, obviously. But Kamala, she knows that the vast majority of the stuff that she has to say is completely nothing. It's empty. It's just empty rhetoric. And you hear this all the time when she talks, right? I made this joke in the first parody video where she's like, we got to think about the what was it, the importance of the unprofound. Now I've forgotten it, but anyway, the point is she has these word salads that essentially are meaningless, right? But she speaks as if they're the most profound thing in the world, and she is literally just presented her blueprint for how she does this and admitted to exactly what I'm trying to tell you guys, that she tries to make completely unimportant things sound like they are critical, sound like they're emergencies, sound like everything's important.
But they're so dumb.
This is what she does. It's so phony. She said, I guess what I'm trying to say is, hold on. I guess what she's trying to say, what I'm trying to say is she is admitting to being a phony. That's what she's doing.
Yeah. But they are so dumb that they don't even realize the dumb things they say. Like, she chose the Titanic.
Oh, you're right.
Like, we are on the Titanic right now. Like, I mean, like, how dumb can you
Jason, just cool it, okay? Because you're kind of no. Because you're kind of giving away some of the stuff in my parody video, and you don't know it because you haven't seen it. But maybe if you would have watched it, you wouldn't be stepping on this landmine. STFU.
Oh, you use that clip?
Yes.
In your parody?
Yes. No, I didn't use the clip. I used the analogy that you were making,
such a good point,
which is much more funny. Yeah, you got to watch my stuff, man. Okay, anyway, let's move on to the next story. All right, prison. Share screen. All right. Okay, here we go. Now I
Folks,
I swore a little bit in this tweet, but I think it was necessary. Okay. I said, what the F? Okay, this is a John Solomon tweet. The DOJ, this is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. The DOJ sues the state of Alabama over an attempt to remove non-citizens from the voter rolls. Now,
this is a Babylon B.
No, yeah, no, this is a real story, you guys. So now I read a little bit of this story, and I don't know. They seem to have some kind of like vague justification, but basically, you know, you should never have non-citizens on your voter rolls at all, ever. But their justification is that there's some kind of rule that you can't. So here it is. The DOJ's argument boils down to some timing. Since Alabama announced its intentions 84 days before the election, which might violate the Federal National Voter Registration Act that prohibits the deletion of names from its election lists within 90 days of an election. But we're not talking about deleting names because people changed an address or moved out of the state or whatever it might be. They're deleting names because they're not citizens.
We know what they're doing.
There should
here.
never be a. What's that? Yeah, exactly.
We know what they're doing here. Yeah,
that's
use an issue use an issue unrelated to use that little issue that you're talking about to allow the cheating. Exactly.
We all know what's going on. The DOJ right now, well, Democrats, let's just say Democrats, the deep state, DOJ, whatever it might be, they fight to the death to allow situations that can be exploited so that there can be election fraud. You see this all the time. Why do you think they fight so hard against voter ID?
Yep.
It's not because they're worried about disenfranchising black people. That is such a lie. That's such a lie. No, you know what they want. You know exactly what they want. We all know what they want. All right.
I think, and in that issue, I think everybody knows, even dumb Democrat voters.
Of course,
even
dumb Democrats. Of course they know, but they don't care because they think it's so important that they win because it's an existential threat. If Donald Trump wins, it's an existential threat to this country. All right. Psaki and Doug Emhoff. This is. All right, we got to watch this. This
Our
Doug
favorite
Emhoff
ginger
crap is just. Doug, well, it's not about her. Let's just watch this. This is one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Important part, an interesting part of how people have talked about your role here is how your role has reshaped the perception of masculinity. And I'm not sure you planned on that, but you are an incredibly supportive spouse. Has that been an evolution for you? And do you think that's part of the role you might play as first gentleman?
It's funny. I've started to think a lot about this. I've always been like this. My dad was like this, and
I just thought it's almost like the punchline to a joke. You know, she's like, "You're the new standard for masculinity," and he responds, you know, if it was like a really masculine man, you'd expect him to respond something.
He actually sounds like Mr. Pagan.
Let me finish. So you would expect him to respond something like, "Yeah, I just killed a deer with my bare hands," or something like that, right?
Exactly.
But no, he comes in and he's like, "Yeah, you know, I've always been this way. I've always been like this. It's like just who I am. You know, my father was like this. It's fabulous." It's like it could not have been a more weak, pathetic. I mean, it was really like the punchline to a joke. When I saw this, I busted up laughing. There's another one. Let me play there's a longer clip of him talking just so we can get a full sense.
Yeah, because he says
the cringe beta-ness of this guy.
He says some masculine things, really.
Shockingly masculine, you guys. This is shockingly masculine.
Think about this. My 83-year-old mother is somehow going to enjoy more rights than Ella. It's wrong. This is all because of Donald Trump. He ran on a platform of women should be punished.
Just look at how he sits. My God. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Man, but it's like I said.
What? What?
No, it's like I said. Like everything they do, just they don't realize how bad they look and how like they try to do something in this case to make them look masculine and all that, but it just backfires. Like, stop, people. I better not
because
say
it's a lie. Because it's not. It's phony.
Keep doing it.
Women should be punished for seeking an abortion. He said that. There's video. He ran on a platform of appointing Supreme Court justices who would overturn Roe v. Wade. They did just that. And he is for a national abortion ban. Make no mistake, where he says, I will be the protector of women, that is yet more lies and more gaslighting.
He also says women won't have to think about it if I'm elected, which
women meant we should be furious about this gaslighting.
Jason, stop. We should be furious about this gaslighting. we should be furious about it.
He sounds like Mr. Pagan. He does. This is like an example.
Yeah, he's like a real life Mr. Pagan. My imitation of a leftist is, I didn't know this at the time. Apparently, it's an imitation of Doug Emhoff.
Yeah.
The ultimate masculine male. Yeah.
Look, people, Democrats. You don't have to anymore. You have the white liberal lefty killing baby vote. Okay, you have that. The liberal white woman that wants to kill their baby. You got it. Don't fight for it. And other women, they're not so into that too. So I mean, you got that vote. You could stop now. You know, I mean, come on.
Doug Emhoff is the most embarrassing male. I guess the only real question about Doug Emhoff, Kamala Harris's first, husband, if she gets elected president. I guess the only question is he a bottom? Because I'm pretty sure he's a bottom. If you don't know what that means, don't look it up. Don't look that.
I don't think he's in anything. I think his her boyfriend is the
yeah. I think Kamala Harris's boyfriend is not impressed by Doug Emhoff's interview.
Exactly.
There we go. Doug Emhoff. Oh my gosh, that guy. I don't even know what to say. It's kind of like the libs of TikTok thing. Like it's like you said earlier. We don't actually have to say anything about these leftists. Yeah. We just have to play their own video.
I don't know where they get this. Like they try to be like men and masculine and stuff. Like it doesn't work for them. Go with what you know. Like stick with what you know. Don't try to. Man, the conservatives have that already. We are the men in this country.
Well, I've been watching some political analysts who have had a pretty interesting. There's kind of this trendy idea going around, which I haven't mentioned before, but I'm going to probably do a video about this actually. Because it's an interesting idea that somebody, I don't know who first proposed it, but it's a good point, that Kamala Harris's biggest problem is men. Like men just are not voting for her at all. At least Joe Biden got a little bit of that. And obviously Barack Obama got a lot of that. But Kamala Harris gets no votes from men at all. And so they are kind of trying to like trot out Tim Walz as this like hunter car mechanic dude, And he's such a clown. He waves with both hands. Who the hell waves with both? Hey, everybody. Why does he do that? It's weird. He calls everybody else weird, but he's the freaking weirdest guy I've ever seen. And then Doug Emhoff, they bring him out. You're the new standard for masculinity. Yeah. If he's the new standard for masculinity, I am now a feminist.
Yeah. Wait a minute. They don't have kids, right?
He does. She does not.
But they're together, right? How long have they been together?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. They're the weirdest couple. Like I've never seen.
That's what I'm saying. Like
seems less like a couple. They don't seem like they have any attraction to each other at all. There's like two people. They're like roommates or something.
This is why I think they try to get like these actors, like these leading men actors to promote the Democrats and all that, because at least they kind of portray real men in movies.
Create the illusion of masculinity.
Yeah. So I think that's why they always go to that, because I don't know.
All right, Doug Emhoff story over. Moving on to the next one. I can't.
Yeah.
All right. So Elon Musk posted this. I love that Elon Musk is on our side. By the way, I just love it. He's helping to save the world, which I think is amazing. Some guy, Jason DeBolt, wrote a brilliant little essay here. I have no idea who this guy is. I'm not even subscribed to him. But
except I was on X jail.
You were an X, you're right. He says, this is not only the most important U.S. presidential election in history, it's probably the most important election in history anywhere, right?
Yeah.
If Kamala Harris is allowed to subvert one of the oldest continuous democracies in the world by continuing to fly illegals into swing states and create single-party authoritarian rule, it will embolden authoritarian movements worldwide. It will weaken democratic institutions globally. It will result in the suppression of opposition voices all over the world. There will be a social upheaval and civil war everywhere. Social upheaval didn't happen in California because people can move states. But when there's nowhere else to go, there will be social upheaval exceeding anything we've ever experienced before in the U.S. I do not wish this to happen. Like Elon said, the same political party already succeeded in establishing single-party rule in California, and the only reason the California government hasn't yet graduated into full-blown authoritarianism is because there are other red states people can still move to. I spent nearly 40 years of my life in California. I witnessed its decline for decades, finally leaving San Francisco in 2020. California is the only state without a democracy. It is the Democrat Party's model for the entire country. I agree with that 100%. I absolutely love this.
That is 100%. That is the goal.
Yeah.
That is, man,
Totally.
Rush Limbaugh used to say it all the time, that's what they want.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they want to cancel elections and never have another election again. And absolutely,
yeah.
man.
And I've said this many times, like, if they can get the House and the Senate, especially if they could get like a supermajority by some, Satan's miracle. What's the opposite of a miracle? Curse.
Yeah.
The curse of Satan. If by some curse they're able to get a supermajority, they would employ every trick that they could possibly employ. They would what do they call it when they put more Supreme Court justices on the court?
Oh yeah.
I forget what they call that, but they would fix that up. They would bring in all the U.S. territories that are left leaning or like left wing. So they would bring in them to vote. So they get more electoral votes. They'd get more senators.
Yep.
They get more congressmen. And then they would reduce the voting age to probably like 17, 16, something like that, so that they get more of that youth Democrat vote. I believe that they will bring in, obviously, Washington, D.C. will get its own probably like status so that they could
statehood.
Yeah, not statehood, but they would set it up so that they could get more power. They're going to set it up so that they basically cannot lose. They would grant amnesty to every illegal alien.
Oh, that's what they'll do. I think that's like one of the first things they'll do is grant amnesty to all the illegals.
There are so many things that they're going to do, so many little tricks that they're going to pull if they can do it, right? That will never win again. And this is what this guy's saying, and this is what Elon Musk is saying. And that's kind of how I wanted to end the show. I wanted to end the show by saying, yeah, we are on a precipice. This is the most important election of our lifetime. This is the most important election maybe in history. So it's weird that this one guy, Donald Trump, who, 10 years ago, would you have guessed that this is the guy that's going to save the world? This guy who has a show called The Apprentice is going to save the world. I would not.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Because, some of the criticisms of the left in terms of his personality are right. He is a little bit arrogant. He doesn't always speak correctly, but in many ways, those flaws are why we love him, because he's authentic. He's real. We do have one last super chat. This is from Tommy from Power Rangers. Tommy from Power Rangers says, we're 5 years in and the government is still giving away free Fauci tests. I'm sorry, but if you keep falling for this scam, even when everyone else has moved on, you should wear a Kamala tattoo for eternity. Yeah. And the people who still wear the masks in the cars.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say that Democrat voters are the most gullible people on the planet because they fall for everything. They believe anything MSNBC tells them. They believe anything the mainstream media tells them. Anything Kamala Harris says, anything Nancy Pelosi says, they're just, slack-jawed locals.
They believe that.
Go on.
I was going to say, they believe the whole threat to democracy when they can't see for themselves the real threat is their own party.
Exactly. Yeah. That's sad, man. It's sad. I wish that Americans were just a little bit savvier. But I think we're savvy enough that Trump will get into 2024. That is my prediction. And I pray that I am right. Any last words, Jason?
I pray that you are right also.
God bless America. All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember, it is not that liberal friends are ignorant. It's just they know so much that is not so. Thank you for watching, and we will see you on Thursday.